Space Marine Strike Forces. From mechanical murder worlds crawling with heretics, to fire-wreathed deserts and even the cold depths of space, the forces of the Adeptus Astartes must be prepared to fight and win against any foe, under any conditions. To ensure their readiness, the Space Marines go to war as fluidly assembled, strategically versatile strike forces. Tactical flexibility is vital to the Space Marine way of war. The Codex Astartes places great emphasis upon maintaining an optimal balance of firepower, mobility, close quarters impact, and endurance. On top of this is the requirement to counter any strategy of the foe, and to exploit any opportunity that arises to its fullest. These are duties that often require the presence of a very specialised asset, such as a librarian, to ward off the malefic effects of hostile witchery, or a flight of Storm Talon gunships to execute lethal strafing runs through gaps opened in the enemy's flak screen. It would therefore make little sense for the Adeptus Astartes to deploy their warriors one company at a time, especially when some of them operate far more effectively as specialist support elements to larger forces. Instead, Space Marines almost invariably deploy in strike forces, usually centred around a portion of one battle company's strength, referred to as a battle demi-company. A typical strike force supports its core of tactical, assault, and devastator marines with elements from the 1st Company, the 10th Company, and the Chapter Armory. In this way, a single Space Marine force includes a balanced mix of warriors, transports, specialists, heavy armour, aircraft, and reconnaissance troops. One important factor that determines the way in which strike forces are composed is necessity. The Space Marines fight a war unending against all the myriad foes that their hostile galaxy throws at them. With their warriors stretched thin across war zones, often thousands of light years apart, being bound by overly prescriptive formations would spell the Adeptus Astartes' doom. Instead, strike forces allow each chapter to make the best use of the personnel it has available at the time. They are flexible enough to accommodate all battlefield realities, and are designed to maximise every Space Marine's impact. The Codex Astartes contains long passages upon the formation and deployment of strike forces. Included are a number of templates, each of which is considered a Codex-approved strike force. Where at all possible, most chapters will follow these templates as closely as they can. The Gladius strike force is one of the most commonly seen of these formations, and is expected to account for over half of the Adeptus Astartes combat deployments currently at large in the galaxy. However, many other strike force templates exist, from the entirely airborne Javelin strike force to the maxed firepower of the Hammerblow strike force. Following Guilliman's example, further strike force templates have been penned by talented chapter master and ratified by the Adeptus Terra. A prime example being the potent Strike Force Ultra. Many chapters also maintain their own unique Strike Force models, named to honour their Primarch and centred around his teachings. Famous examples include the Dawn's Shield Strike Force of the Imperial Fists, or the Khan's Lance Strike Force, often deployed by the White Scars. Whatever their provenance, strike forces make the most of the Space Marines' strengths, and ensure that they are never caught unprepared to face the foe. When formed into a single army, disparate Imperial forces often display a unifying campaign badge. Space Marines normally paint these symbols onto the hulls of their vehicles and the greaves of their armour, and sometimes retain them as badges of honour. The designs vary greatly, but usually incorporate a geometric shape and an icon. The badge's colours may reflect the war zone in question or be tied to other Imperial heraldry. A Gladius strike force. The larger a Gladius strike force is, the more command elements it requires to maximise strategic oversight. However, the force's overall commander is always decreed by the chapter master. Gladius strike forces are typically supported by elements of the 1st and 10th companies. However, exactly how many personnel they gain from these companies varies, depending not only upon the strike force's mission parameters, but on who is actually available at the time. Each Gladius strike force is based around a core of one or more demi-companies. These are always drawn from the 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 5th companies, never the reserves, and each is led to war by at least one Space Marine captain or chaplain. It is a rare Gladius strike force that deploys without at least some vehicles and tech marines from the armoury in attendance. It is common for squads in a strike force to be deployed with dedicated transports to provide greater tactical flexibility, but the precise composition of this armoured support depends upon availability and the mission at hand. In early M36, the then chapter master of the Ultramarines, Ollonius, received a fragmented Imperial distress call from Silphus II. Faced with sparse intel on the nature of the threat, Ollonius had to maximise the flexibility of the Ultramarines' response. He therefore assembled a Gladius strike force. Command was given to 3rd Company Captain Callistes, supported by Chaplain Gaius. Drawing on available forces, the strike force incorporated a battle demi-company of the 3rd, 3 squads of 1st Company Terminators, 3 squads of 10th Company Scouts, and several tank squadrons under Tech Marine Agmanus. Upon making planetfall on Silphus II, Callistes and his men found the world beset by greenskins, but with each component of the strike force working in perfect concert, the Ultramarines were able to purge the world of its Xenos invaders.